Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for October. Can you believe it? October. I hope you're well. I'm using the Pagan Otherworlds for you today. So things that I have to tell you, if this reading resonates with you, there will be an extended at the end. That will be the first link in the description box. I also have done a 6-month overview for each of the signs that run from July to December. If you're interested in that and you haven't seen it, I have knocked down the price by a third because we're like a third of the way through that period now. That's the second link in the description box. What else did I have to tell you? Oh, Mercury retrograde. Yeah, nothing to be afraid of. Happens 3 times a year, and I think for most people you don't even notice it. But, you know, the standard rules of retrograde survival apply, or at least this retrograde Mercury. If you've got any contracts to sign, if you can possibly, you know, leave it until we've come out of the other side of the shadow phase. I think it was due to start, was it the 27th or something like that of September. There was a 2-week lead up to it. There's 2 weeks where it's actually in retrograde, and then there's 2 weeks where it's fading out again. Obviously it's at its peak in the 2-week period in the middle. If you can possibly avoid signing contracts in that time, that's a good thing. But if you absolutely have to, and I understand there are circumstances under which that needs to occur, then just make sure that you're really reading the fine print of that, and you know what you're getting yourself into. Stitch and time saves 9 and all of that. And, you know, expect mishaps with communications, with technology, with transport sometimes as well. I think I'm in for a bit of a kicking in this retrograde because the shadow period's been tinkering with my system. Any of you who tried to watch my aborted live stream a little while back may have noticed that that's occurring. So let's get this one more shuffle and then we'll get on with the reading. But mostly it's an energy of encouraging reflection, like tying up loose ends and making sure that you know, you're doing things properly, like you've attended to all the details. So if you use it in that way, like, you'll be fine. So can I have 3 cards for Sagittarius, please? Okay. There's the first one right down here. What is that? Oh, we have the 2 of Pentacles in your recent past. In your current energy, we have that. The 10 of Cups. Oh, I like that. That's very nice. It's coming towards Sagittarius for October, please. Thank you. There we go. What's this now? The 4 of Swords. Okay. Well, normally I would say, I just want to show you the star dropped out, but it sort of dropped out to the right and I don't take those ones. So normally for a Sagittarian, for a fire sign, I would say, well, that sounds remarkably dull, a 4 of Swords. But actually, Sagittarius, for you, I'm liking it very, very much. It is combined with the 4 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. This is the card of a new foundation, like starting a new foundation, building a new foundation. Getting somewhat into a new paradigm, actually. We have the Knight of Swords and we have the Ace of Wands underneath here. And underneath that, the 9 of Swords and the 5 of Cups. It seems to be a resolution to a situation that's been causing you some stress for a little while, Sagittarius. Whether this is an old wound, an old grief, or whether this is current grief and a current wound that you're dealing with, certainly it seems to be resolved, and there seems to be a remarkable uptick in your energy levels. Well, so something, yeah, Sagittarian energy levels are pretty spectacular as it is, but I'll get to why the 4 of Swords is really good for you in a bit, but let's address these other cards that are here first. Let me get some clarifiers. You know, what was that? No? So we're going to use the John Bauer to clarify today. I wasn't quite sure if it was the Night Sun. This deck likes you. It comes out for you quite a lot. I like this deck. It's a good deck. So, tell me about the 2 of Pentacles, please. Thank you. We have the Queen of Cups. Ooh, we've got 2 lots that came out. We got the 8 of Pentacles and the Hermit with this. That's cool. Tell me about the Ten of Pentacles, Ten of Cups, please. That's a ton of cards. Do I want to take all of these? Yeah, I think I'm going to take them. We've got the Three of Pentacles, the Four of Pentacles, the Ten of Cups again, and the Lover's card. Saggy, what are you up to? There's some pretty epic manifestation going on here. Tell me about this Four of Swords. We have the Sun card. Four of Swords. What the fuck? Tell me about the Four of Swords, please. Again. And the Justice card. Wow, this October looks like a really, really good month for you, Sagittarius. We've got the Two of Cups at the bottom of the deck. Let's shut the fucking window. I mean, honestly, how hard is it not to be an absolute noise nuisance? Not that hard, I don't think. I've been sat in this turret since 6:30 this morning, and I have to tell you, there's been an unacceptable amount of noise. My neighbour was hoovering his car out at 20 to 7 this morning. I mean, I ask you, really? Right, back to you. This reading is excellent, right? I haven't even got into it yet. The vibes that are coming off this are absolutely exceptional. The Two of Cups at the bottom of the deck is a lovely card. It is a card of relationships, yes, and they can be romantic, but that's not the only interpretation for this, right? We can see this being business partners, we can see this being, you know, close friends, close family. It's about coming together with somebody who has a shared view with you, right? Shared value systems, shared interests, shared goals, shared, you know, desire for achievement, you know, whatever it is. I mean, ultimately, I think it boils down to intimacy right here, in whatever respect that applies. And it's a good one, right? It's a card of coming into alignment with somebody else, or being in a state of alignment with someone else. You know, if you do have those kind of relationships around you, that is a validation that you're on the right track with these people, right? But the first card that we come to here in your recent past is the Two of Pentacles. Now, this is a card of juggling sometimes, you know. And honestly, it's the card that seems to vary the most between decks. Like, no two of Pentacles are the same. Like, they're all very, very different. Sometimes, like this one, you know, we have someone who looks slightly stricken, and they're not pulling off too much of a maneuver, but there's this, you know, big rolling waves in the background, and, you know, they're struggling with something. Others, they look, you know, positively gleeful about the gymnastic feats that they're pulling off. And there's, you know, pentacles up in the air, you know. Some look content, some look really, really stricken, and there's, particularly in the Llewellyn, there is this, you know, sense of impending peril about it. It's like only just keeping shit together. But this is relatively neutral. Now, because it's a two, it's very much about your internal space, and I like the calm that there is here with this. We don't actually see the rocky seas that are present in all other versions of the Two of Pentacles that are just, you know, laid out for you there. This is stable. This is having things to do and getting them done. This is having, you know, internal work to do and getting it done. It's a focus on stability, getting everything balanced, getting everything aligned, and everything just so, Sagittarius. And I think that whatever you've been doing, I think your internal work has formed an enormous part of this. We've got the Queen of Cups here, Cancerian energy. We've got the Eight of Pentacles, and we've got the Hermit, which is Virgo energy. And, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't allude, at least partially, to the fact that you've had some issues with Virgoan energy for quite some time now. Some of you are in relationships with Virgos and they break down. Friends, family, you know, whatever. And certainly even in the most recent video that I did for you just before this, which is the mid-month for September, there was some aspect of Virgo kicking off somewhere in your existence, right? But you were just kind of like so over that shit, it just didn't even really register that much. This feels more like your Hermit energy, your Virgoan energy here. And it's about going within to find answers. Now, the Queen of Cups, like I said, it's Cancerian energy, and it can indicate someone, you know, for whom you have strong feelings or are in receipt of strong feelings from somebody else, right? But it's the receptivity of this card that is really drawing my eye in here, because receptivity is quite an internal position. Right, so we've got this internal sense of calm, and then we've got this internal position of receiving and working on your ability to receive, Sagittarius, because I think this has been a big thing for you for a long time, and you've kind of skirted around this issue quite a bit, but certainly over the last, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks, it's been less about what's going on around you and almost a little less about the people that have surrounded you and are surrounding you now, and more about the way that you are allowing people to come in now in a way that you haven't before. It's about you, ultimately, is what I'm saying. It's your perspective on the situation, analysing the way that you let people in, and, you know, what value you take from them being there. Because Sagittarius is one of those signs that seem to be born with the most extraordinary sense of boundaries that I've ever met. Like, my daughter is a fucking phenomenal example of that, right? And we're both fire signs, but she's a Sagittarius, and she will take no shit from anyone about anything, and she hasn't since she was tiny, right? It's just like, no, you know, and that's a full sentence for her, as it is for you. But there has been somewhat of how do I put it? What has come to the surface for you over this last year is this understanding that whoever it is, and I think that there were some major relationships at play, certainly last year and the year before, whoever it is that have hurt you, Sagittarius, by their continued behaviour, by their actions, by their constant criticisms, by their pulling you down all the time, like, you allowed that in. Like, somehow these relationships got under your boundaries, right? And they sat in there so close that you didn't realise that you could just move away from that day. You could just be away from it. And it was so at odds with the way that you deal with the rest of the world, right? It's a bit like, no, fuck you, I'm off, right? That's how you deal with the rest of the world. But for some reason, these really, really close relationships to you, whether they be parents or spouses or siblings or cousins, or, you know, or even really close friends, for some reason, because they got underneath these boundaries, it took you a very, very long time to realise that actually you had the ability to be able to say no. You had the ability to be able to walk off and do something else. You had the ability to be able to put yourself first, and that was something that you were not doing up until this point. Like I was spoken about Sagittarian resilience, you just put your head down, and I certainly think that for a lot of you there was a sense of, well, this is my fucking life now, I just get on with it and I make the best of what I can, right? In the middle of it, there's a propensity towards not exactly optimism, because I think that you've had some really dark periods in your life, but your ability to be present meant that your saving grace were those snatches of time where you spent time with people who really meant something to you, who did not take advantage of you, where there was some fun, you know, and you really made the most of those, and that kept you going for a while, okay? But now, having taken yourself out of these situations, these ones that were damaging and critical and you know, pretty low vibration, and leaving you in a place where it was, to some degree, a sense of survival mode, you know, that was going on here, there's been an understanding that you have needed to change some certain things, and there's definitely been childhood stuff that you've been looking at, you know, maybe early adult stuff, kind of a sense of repeating patterns with things, and looking at the people that you've been surrounded with and how they are all often, you know, very, very similar. That would be different signs, certainly, but this, whatever the Virgoan energy was that you walked away from most recently, that was just the most recent iteration of a particular type of behavior, a particular type of pattern that has been part of your existence for as long as you can remember. And that's why you've thrown up the boundaries to most other people. It's like, no, fuck off, don't care. But understanding now that there are ways in which your armor has chinks, and people got through there, and then from there they exploited you, was a bit of a head mash. Like, there's no other way of putting it. It was a complete head fuck. Like, how did I allow this to happen? All of this is kind of coming around to the fact that the work that you are doing on yourself, and it is serious internal work at the moment, is all about the way that you receive those who have good intentions, who act well towards you. You know, it's about circumventing what has become now in you somewhat of a default mechanism towards self-sabotage, right? You sabotage it first, and then somebody else can't do it for you. You've recognized that. You understand that that is something that you have rather a predisposition towards. And now it's about fixing that, right? And you have been really, really focused on this. And you may not have spoken to many people about this. I'd be surprised if you've spoken to anyone about it. But you've been observing, and that's something that Sagittarians do very well. It's one of the things that a lot of other signs overlook about Sagittarians. You miss out. And now, when you're in a position where you're deliberately looking for your own triggers, you're looking for the things that stop you from really engaging with what you want. And what you want is good, clean relationships, no toxicity. You know, you want to be able to just live nicely, without fear, without anxiety, without any of these things. You are now looking for your place in that, right? Like, what do I do differently to make sure that I don't fuck up something that I really, really want, or that I don't slide into something that I really don't want? This is incredibly positive, Sagittarius, and I'm really, really happy to see that you have been doing that. Like, fucking gold star. Like, top of the class, good stuff. In your current energy, you have the 10 of Cups, and this is amazing. And it's amazing not just because it's a 10 of Cups and it's an absolutely beautiful card. The energy of this card is wonderful, but it's beautiful because it's you. I've said a number of times that Sagittarians don't really know what it is to have a home, right? They roam. And there's a certain expectation of Sagittarians that they will roam, right? But it's often come from this place of not having had, at the start of life, you know, a sense of what it is to belong to a tribe, you know, to literally have your ride or die crew being your family. You know, you might well have found them in your, you know, early teens, late teens, and you may have had somewhat of a, what's the best way to put it, a hedonistic time. Testing limits, right? Testing boundaries, testing everything, just testing all the time, you know, like pushing. And some of you may even be amazed that you're still alive, that you survived it, right? Certainly of the Sagittarians, I know that that's pretty true. The 10 of Cups is a card of emotional fulfillment. It's a card of belonging. It's a card of having a collective around you that support you, nurture you, and that will always be there for you, you know. And you also reciprocating that, you know. The Knight of Wands, the Sagittarian energy generally, is given to be an energy of a lack of commitment, right? And that is such a shallow interpretation of what Sagittarian energy is, because it puts the blame onto Sagittarians, right? It says, well, you're reckless, you're thoughtless, you can't see in front of your own nose with anything, you know, you don't commit to X, Y, and Z, you know, you're not here, you're not, and particularly if you've been in a relationship with a Virgo who is an earth sign, mutable earth sign, yes, but still a fucking earth sign, right? It's the way that they choose to live life, the speed that they choose to live life at, the way that they experience life altogether is an entirely different way that you do naturally. And it whilst it may have helped in some ways, maybe round off some of your sharper edges, at the same time, it will have always felt kind of restricted and a little bit stayed, you know, a little bit flat. I think that the characterization of a Sagittarian as non-committal completely brushes past the damage that has been wrought onto Sagittarians from other people. And when you find something that you really, really like, something that you really, really want to engage with, whether that is a person or a hobby or whatever, like, you're there, Sagittarius. You're there all day long, and you're there with every bit of energy that you can spare, and that's, you know, that's a metric fuck ton. And I think now you're starting to understand what home is. And yes, you may have people around you who are facilitating that. You know, they may be your tribe and they may have taught you all sorts of things, but ultimately the change and the shift has occurred within you, Sagittarius. You are the one who has affected this. And you are the one who has chosen to deal with, you know, all of the things that made you non-committal in the first place. And those were things that were not of your creation, right? We've got the Three of Pentacles here. This is a solid card, right? Earth energy, yes, but it's coming from all directions here, right? You and the people that you are around at the moment, the people that you are working with, the people that you are cooperating, collaborating with, you're building at this point. And this is new for you. And it's... But at the same time, it's kind of always been there. It's always been something that you were capable of when you found a situation that warranted it. You know, on some subconscious level, where you were before, you knew it wasn't right for you. You knew it wasn't, it didn't inspire you, didn't light you up. And Sagittarians need things that light them up. Now you have it, and now you understand it. And now you see it for the precious commodity that it is. It feels like a new layer of life has been opened up to you, Sagittarius, and the enthusiasm is just building. You know, you started off pretty enthusiastic, another Sagittarian trait, but it's just growing and building, and the foundations that are being laid at this time are so strong. They're really, really strong. You know, we had the Ten of Cups again, as if to really, really emphasize this aspect of it, right? You belong. You are somewhere now. And it's not just you that is happy, it is the people around you that are happy too. You know, whether or not you have somebody, you know, a significant other at this point, or whether this is your friends and your family, you know, certain members of your family, it certainly seems that a lot of the emotional issues that you have experienced are slowly working their way out. And there isn't a sense in you that it actually needs to be done fast either. Like, it feels like this has just happened holistically. And some of you maybe can't even believe your luck. But it's not luck. That's the thing, you know, it's all about responding to vibrations, you know, and being drawn towards the good ones and knowing that it's okay for you to move away from the ones that just don't resonate with you anymore. And we've got the Lover's card here. Now, the Lover's card, which, like the Two of Cups, can be a romantic relationship. It can be, you know, coming together in union with someone else. In which case it talks about harmonious union. But if that's not the case for you, and even if it is the case for you, it is also a card of a choice, right? It's a card of manifestation, of conscious co-creation, whether that just be by your hand or together with another person. It's a card of knowing what you want and then choosing to do what you have to do to bring it about to you, Sagittarius. Now that in and of itself is a commitment. Right there. You know, I've said before so many times, like, what you've discovered this year is all of the things that you were told that you were, you're not. And all of the things that you were told you couldn't do, you can. You know, and this has been a fucking never-ending revelation for you. Because ultimately, all of those things that you were told and all of those things that you internalized and decided were an accurate reflection of who you were literally just projections from the people around you. All of them. And for you, it's about stepping into your own value, stepping into a sense of understanding that you aren't just, you're just a random assortment of I've got atoms, I guess, but that there's something really rather solid behind it, you know? You're in a good spot right now, Sagittarius, and I don't think that I need to tell you to be grateful for that, because I can feel it emanating from every pore, to be honest. Now, when we come to what October has in store for you, we have the Four of Swords. Now, like I said, you know, there might have been a point where for a Sagittarian I'd have said, oh, commiserations, you've got the Four of Swords, because it's a card of peace. It's a card of meditation. It's a card of healing, you know? It follows on from the Three of Swords, and the Three of Swords obviously is that really visceral scene of heartbreak. And this is the point of withdrawing away from that. When you know, as we all do, when something breaks our heart, we don't tend to be the, you know, light and soul of the party, life and soul of the party. We tend to pull back, we tend to withdraw, and we tend to give ourselves time to heal, you know. But all of the cards numbered 4 are foundational level. And there's a level of peace that is existing within you now that never existed before. And it almost feels in some ways that you've been reborn, Sagittarius. I think I said in the last reading that I did for you, the mid-month one, that the people that surround you now at the moment, you know, all of those things that you were told about yourself that were annoying or that were irritating or irresponsible or reckless, or, you know, parts of your personality that made you, frankly, fucking ball and chain on some, because somebody's always got to clear up after you, you know, always sorting out your mess, blah, 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 blah. You don't do enough, you don't do this, hypercritical. All the bits of you that you thought were like awful are actually exalted in the relationships that you're in. And there's a peacefulness and there's a contentment about you. And that's not to say that you don't have things that you're concerned about and things that you are worried about. But this shift within is palpable in October. And we have here the Sun card and the Justice card. Now this is Leo energy and Libra energy, respectively. But whether or not you have Leos or Libras around you, the Sun card is a card of happiness. It's pure happiness, you know? It's that feeling of contentment when the sun hits your skin and it just seems to warm you from within. It's a card of being comfortable with vulnerability. And it's a card that radiates positivity. And as a mindset, it actually almost makes you unstoppable, Sagittarius. Sagittarius, you have an incredible capacity for destruction. Okay? Creative destruction at that. You know, nobody's going to do it more stylishly than a Sagittarius. But creation and destruction are necessarily interdependent on each other, you know. Sometimes in order to, well, no, not sometimes, there's always a destruction that precedes a creation, and something has to be created for it to be destroyed. Holy shit. But the capacity for destruction comes from a place of wounding. It comes from a place of hurt, you know. And as you are addressing all of these things, so it's shifting the root of your creative power, and it seems to be less on the destruction now and more about the pure creativity. It has direction now, it has focus, because you've allowed it in. Like I said, you know, I talk about the shadow a lot on this channel, and that, you know, the shadow is purely that which you have disavowed in yourself. And for a lot of you, that includes, that may be almost entirely comprised of what your good points are, you know. But where you are relying on other people to tell you whether, you know, something about you is good or bad, which is essentially what we do when we're children, but we continue to do as we're adults, you hand over your power to everybody else to tell you whether you are worthy or not. And Sagittarius, I feel like you've brought this back to yourself, buoyed up absolutely in part by the tribe that is surrounding you, but ultimately because of the work that you have chosen to do. You see now, you see a lot of things. And we've got the Justice card. Now, you know, the flat interpretation of this is, if you have any kind of legal issues at the moment, you can expect them to go well. You can expect there to be some sort of resolution in your favor in the month of October. But the Justice card is so much more than that. You know, it talks about karma, it talks about consequences. And for you, with this combination of cards here, it suggests a working through of your karma, right, to a positive resolution, right? Things going well for you now. You know, the mindset that you've got really influencing the kind of life that you want to manifest for yourself. I mean, honestly, if some of you are looking to move house, it's quite likely that you'll do that this month. But in short, it looks wonderful. Now, I'm going to go over to Vimeo now, and we're going to look at October specifically. We're going to see what what's going on here with these Sun and Justice cards. So if you want to join me over there, that's cool. Links in the description. If not, no shade. Just know that October, I think, looks like it's going to be pretty good for you in terms of your stability, in terms of your contentment, in terms of your peace. This is a good month. So enjoy it. All right. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.